Welcome, friends. Thank you for joining us. This is our final Shanti in place meditation for the academic year. We'll be going on hiatus for the remainder of the summer, and then hopefully we'll return in the fall. We're still working out programming, what programming will remain virtual, what programming will become in person. As you might imagine, it's a time of transition for everyone. So stay tuned for more about that. But for now, let's jump into our meditation. Inviting everyone, as usual, to take a moment to find your comfortable seat, your comfortable posture, your asana or sukhasana, posture, a position of ease and of comfort, of relaxation, and simultaneously of awareness and focus. If you haven't already done so, an invitation here to close the eyes or soften the gaze. You can keep your cameras on or off as you feel comfortable, but just making sure, perhaps taking a moment to double check that your audio is muted out. Our worlds of matter and embodiment are full of distractions. And part of meditation practice is learning to engage with these distractions in a spirit of ease and non-attachment and acceptance and tolerance, but also taking opportunities when they present themselves to reduce or minimize or even eliminate whatever distractions we're able to. We will begin our meditation as we generally do, with the ringing of the bell, and then taking 3 deep breaths with intention, breathing in deeply through the nose or softly between the lips, holding the breath for a few beats, and then releasing the breath for a slightly longer amount of time, for a little bit of elongation, a little bit of a deeper release. We'll begin. Breathing in. Holding. And out. A second time, breathing in. Hold. Release. Final breath in. Hold. Out. Continuing to breathe through with intention and allowing the breath to find or resume its natural rhythm and pace. Observing the breath as it falls into its rhythm, as it finds its pace. Noticing perhaps the sensation of settling. Maybe it feels like finding ground, finding stability. Maybe it feels like finding rest, finding a pause and a break from movement with intention. Whatever it feels like, just noticing that sensation. Observing it, perhaps the way we would observe a lake or a pond after we've skipped a stone along the surface of the water. Watching the ripples and then watching the ripples slowly dissipate and the surface of the water becoming calm and still once again. Allowing ourselves the gift of presence, the gift of simply noticing and resting our awareness on the breath. Noticing if our minds are wandering, if our awareness feels pulled or pushed, and then just bringing that awareness, bringing the mind back, knowing we can always bring it back. Staying with this simple act of noticing the breath, or perhaps if we'd like, gently and with intention, bringing the mind, bringing our awareness, our observation to the region of the heart, metaphoric heart space. Perhaps also bringing a hand or both hands to the physical region of the heart. Perhaps feeling the beating of the heart and the movement of the breath. Settling into the heart space, bringing to the heart's eye perhaps a vision, an image, a memory of feeling loved and safe. If we're struggling to bring a specific image, perhaps just invoking the feeling of being loved and safe. Noticing the sensation of whatever emotions, whatever feelings come accompanying this happiness and safety. For some of us, there's gratitude, maybe, or excitement, maybe some wistfulness as we look back at a time that has passed, or maybe some anxiety or fear as our minds contemplate being taken out of this space of happiness and safety. We can simply notice these feelings without judgment and with intention, lean in a little bit more deeply into the feeling of safety and happiness and love. Repeating to ourselves silently or perhaps softly or audibly this affirmation and benediction of loving kindness that we can gift to ourselves. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be happy. May I live at ease, giving and receiving love. We can stay here, or we can expand this beam of light of loving kindness, broadening it out and including within it a dear one, a loved one, a friend or family member perhaps. Sending the same loving kindness to this beloved before us. Repeating, may you be safe, may you be healthy, may you be happy, may you live at ease, giving and receiving love. Continuing to direct this loving kindness to ourselves and our loved ones, continuing to feel the beating of the heart and the movement of the breath as our foundations. We can stay here, or if we'd like to, and we feel ready to, we can expand that beam of loving kindness even further. Allowing it to envelop other beings around us who may be strangers to us in this moment, or maybe more distant or removed. We can connect to them as well, directing this loving kindness to them, repeating, perhaps with our voices, but more importantly from our hearts, this benediction. May they be safe, may they be healthy, may they be happy, may they live at ease, giving and receiving love. For some of us, this is where we feel called to stay or able to stay. And for others, perhaps there's an opportunity here to embrace some discomfort, to go and grow through challenge, bringing to the heart's eye now a troubled or troubling relationship, one who represents for us perhaps hurts, misunderstanding, perhaps even anger and blame or shame. And if we feel comfortable and safe doing so, allowing that beam of loving kindness to touch them as well. Sending forth this loving kindness with no expectation, no attachment to outcome, without even a sense of reciprocity. Sending out loving kindness for the sake of sending the loving kindness itself, in a spirit of giving. Facing this image, repeating, may you too be safe. May you too be healthy. May you too be happy. May you live at ease, giving and receiving love. Before bringing our meditation to a close, seeing if we can expand this intention, this communication of loving kindness, if we can expand it to its full capacity. Opening that heart space, that seat of compassion and kindness, breaking it open as fully, as expansively as we can, directing this loving kindness to all beings, to all consciousness, all life. We are interconnected through life. Our happiness, our security, our liberation is bound to one another. Repeating this benediction, may we all be safe. May we all be healthy. May we all be happy. May we live at ease with one another, giving and receiving love. We'll close our meditation with one final intentional deep breath in, and then releasing the breath, chanting or hearing the sacred syllable Om, sealing our practice together. Breathing in deeply. Om. Gently and with ease, opening the eyes, widening the gaze, returning our awareness to our external surroundings and to our virtual gathering together. I recognize that for some of us, we have other commitments that mean that we have to get off of this call in just a couple of minutes. So I want to honor that. But for those who can stay a little bit longer, especially because this is our last gathering for some time together, I wanted to spend a few minutes expanding on this notion, this concept, this powerful practice of loving kindness. For some of us, this is a review. For others, it may be a little bit of a newer addition to your spiritual journey or practice. Our reflection today, and perhaps a reflection that we can take with us into the rest of the summer and these unusual times that we live in, that continue to, in many ways, challenge us to rise to our best selves, our higher selves. Our reflection today reads, by practicing true awareness and non-judgment, our capacity to love and wish well grows exponentially. In many ways, this is the blessed end, the gift, the natural result of true awareness, of stilling the mind, of practicing genuine observation and curiosity in a spirit of non-attachment and non-judgment, that we find not only is the mind quieter and more at peace and stiller, but in some respects, more importantly, particularly for those of us whose practices are linked with the idea of bhakti or devotion, the real gift of these practices is not just the still mind, but the expanded capacity to love and to express and experience kindness and compassion. So our meditation, and if you're interested in this particular language, there are different ways of holding this space for meditation and guiding meditations like this. But if you're interested in this particular language, an invitation maybe to screenshot here or to jot down these words. May I and you and they and we, whatever the language we want to use, be safe, be healthy, be happy, to live at ease or with ease, giving and receiving love. Of course, there's other ways of expressing this, but this is particular language that I think really resonates with me and that I'd like to offer for those who would like to incorporate this practice. This idea of expanding, constantly expanding our capacity to love and to genuinely wish well, it is something that is seemingly very, very simple and straightforward. It's very easy to say. It's an easy sort of script to memorize. But when we look at it, I think a little bit more deeply, and I want to invite all of us to do that, and with self-awareness and self-honesty, we discover it's actually quite radical. It's actually, it's one of the most challenging aspirations that we can undertake. In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna offers this as the symptom or the expression, you can say, of the most advanced type of yoga, the most advanced practice or realization of yoga. And so Krishna says, yogi paramo, literally the most advanced yogi, is one who is able to have this practice or express this sentiment, this more than just a sentiment, but this genuine benediction of loving kindness. He says, Atmopam yena sarvatra samam pashyati yorjuna sukham va yadi va dukham sa yogi paramo mataha. One who sees the true equality of all beings, empathizing with them in their happiness and their distress. Such a person should be considered the most advanced yogi, O Arjuna. Sukham va yadiva dukham. Whether in happiness, whether in joy, or dukkha, or in suffering, the most advanced yogi, the yogi with the deepest, fullest realization, is one who experiences that happiness and distress, that happiness and sadness or sorrow along with others, that shares in the joy of others, genuinely wishing them happiness and joy, and who experiences, who accepts for themselves, for ourselves, the sorrow of others, genuinely seeking to relieve this distress or this sorrow. Some of us are familiar with the idea of metta, which is the Pali word for this this concept of loving kindness. In Sanskrit, the word is maitri. So Sanskrit and Pali are sister languages. When the Sanskrit maitri made its way into Pali, it transformed into metta. But it's the same idea. It refers to a state of emotional awareness that is rooted in a kind of a very deep level of friendship, a very deep conception of friendship that is a kind of a benevolent well-wishing. That is a capacity to love. And it's a capacity that expands and grows from the more narrowly construed, so we can say the more particular, to the broadest, to the most universal. It's not a coincidence that with loving kindness meditation, we start with ourselves, right? They say like charity begins at home. We direct that loving kindness to ourselves to be in a state of security and safety. And from that place of security and safety, which gives us stability, we're able to expand to broader and broader or more universal expressions of that same loving kindness. So we start with ourselves, we're able to expand perhaps to those who it's easier to love, it's easier to consider almost like extensions of ourselves, right? Our near ones, our dear ones, especially family members or very close friends, partners and spouses. We often consider them kind of extensions of ourselves. And so it's a natural extension then to direct our loving kindness to them, but then we're invited to go even more universal, to broaden out even further. I'm just going to gloss over this, but it's quite interesting. The Yoga Sutras, Maitri is defined as having 4 states or 4 expressions. The word itself, Maitri, is used both as the general umbrella category, but also more specifically to an expression of what's sometimes called loving friendship. And this is especially for those that we might consider our peers, those that are close to us, that we kind of consider friends. And we're directed to, or we're encouraged to see all beings as our friends. And so to direct this loving friendship, this Maitri to all. But the Maitri takes a special form when it comes to those who are especially in distress or suffering, or perhaps that are lacking in some way, or that are junior to us in some way, where essentially these are folks who perhaps are in need of some extra love, some extra care. They're in need of being uplifted in some way, and we have the resources, the means, and the capacity to do that. So that Maitri then transforms into Karuna. Karuna is a beautiful word that means compassion or kindness. The flip side is when we encounter those who are experiencing success and happiness, who, whether emotionally or even in some material or more mundane sense, who are experiencing perhaps something that we ourselves aren't experiencing, or who are superior to us in some way. Can we still express Maitri towards them, but that Maitri now takes a form of mudita, of joy, of genuine happiness in the happiness of others? Right? Can we celebrate the triumphs and successes and victories of others? That's also an expression of Maitri, of loving kindness. And finally, and in some ways perhaps most challenging, there is what is called in Sanskrit upeksha. And upeksha means indifference. This is indifference not in the sense of callousness or not caring, but this is indifference in a sense of developing tolerance and acceptance in the face of challenging actions and unfair criticism. And this is especially something that we can, it's incredibly difficult, but something that we can try to work on directing towards those who, for whatever reason, through force of circumstance or through some misunderstanding or through some friction or conflict caused by our egos bumping up against each other, whatever it may be, but folks who may identify themselves, or we may identify as opponents or rivals or enemies of some sort. Of course, the yoga philosophy teaches us that truly there are no enemies. There are only teachers. There are only friends in various expressions. But still, sometimes there are relationships that can feel very challenging because of this friction or because of this dynamic of something adversarial. And while we can't artificially ignore all of that or just transform that, into some explicit expression of love, we can at least allow that loving kindness, that Maitri, to take the form of indifference, of tolerance, of not being swept up in that unfair criticism or those challenging actions, but to be able to separate out the challenging and sometimes even toxic or dysfunctional actions from the people themselves. And especially as we develop that capacity to be able to send loving kindness even to them, even to those people. So again, by practicing true awareness and non-judgment, our capacity to love and wish well grows exponentially. So with that, I will bring our session together and our series of gatherings to a close. I want to just say it's been such an honor and a joy to be able to do this. It's been a gift to share this space, to play some role in facilitating. This is not, leading meditations is not something, as some of you know, that is typically a part of my practice. And so it has been a learning experience. So I'm grateful to everyone for overlooking some shortcomings and some, some areas for improvement. Perhaps at times I talked a little bit too much, or for some of us, maybe not enough. So in whatever ways, big or small, I fell short, please know that I'm trying to learn and grow. And in whatever ways that this practice has been helpful and resonant with folks, I'm just so grateful for your encouragement. And please know that anything I was able to contribute of value is just a gift from my teachers that I'm fortunate enough to be able to pass along. So thank you all so much. I want to wish you all, from the core of my heart, loving kindness and best wishes for the rest of the summer And if it is the will of the divine and providence, then hopefully we can gather together again in the fall. So thank you all so much. Namaste.